All right, I want to take a look at what last week's homework, last week's quiz. There was that question about that dead weight loss, and yeah, I agree that it was kind of a not the best question in the world, so I'll toss it from the quiz. But just to review it, let me go back to last week's quiz. Looking for that dead weight. There it is there. Number 2. The dead weight loss from monopoly is shown graphically by the area between, and yeah, this is very uh, confusing, I can see, but let me find the actual graph of it. All right, here it is, number 8, because again, I have these things as set to come up randomly. So here's a monopolist, right? You know, they want to sell, well, MR equals MC, and again, this LRS, this is really the marginal cost, a long run marginal cost curve, because in the long run, all inputs are variable. Again, if I have a factory the size of our classroom, um, in the short run, I fill it with people, I'll start losing efficiency. But in the long run, I could basically expand into another classroom. Um, so in the long run, these costs are a straight line. So that's why you see it here. But this is really refers to the marginal cost to this LRS line. So for this question here, what the graphic at the right shows production of both monopoly market and a perfectly competitive market. Again, the market, not the individual firm, in a perfect competition. Which of the shaded areas shows the increased producer surplus from the existing monopoly? Because again, with a monopoly, you sell well where MR equals MC, right here. So their surplus is this blue area. And again, in a perfect competition, it would sell where demand meets the um, long run supply curve right here. And the price would be lower. So B is the surplus that a monopolist gets. Area A is because there's a few people up here with this demand line that would pay the higher prices. So A is basically the consumer surplus for those rich people that would pay the higher price no matter what. Let me see. So I'm going to go back to this dead weight. So the dead weight loss basically is um, the area between where the marginal revenue equals marginal cost is that quantity that's supplied out here to the right where the supply and demand meet in a purely competition. So this line here basically is this the dead weight loss. Again, people out here aren't going to be paying in this price because they don't demand it. So again, one of the reasons why we regulate monopolies. So let me go back to this dead weight loss thing, if I can find it. There it is. Dead weight loss for monopoly shows graphically by the area between, and again, here it's where the demand and supply curves, which one is it? Again, the wording here is bad. Again, so I'm not going to have a question like this on the midterm. That'd be too cruel. Between the quantity and the equilibrium quantity. Again, the equilibrium quantity is where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Again, where that will sell at a higher price with a monopoly between there and the quantity demanded. It's this A is the choice. But again, I'll go over what I'm going to ask you about monopolies on the test. These kind of questions I'm going to try to avoid. Let's see. For this week's homework, I'm just going to close out of here. I got chapter 8. Let me preview chapter 8, the homework. And again, it always pays to print these things out. And again, if you did the quiz, the dead weight loss question, if you see dead weight on the quiz, write it down. And then, the back of the book here, if I look in the textbook for dead weight loss, it does say dead weight loss. Hang on. Page, if I can find it. Wait, there it is, right there, first under D. 164 to 165, and then here is basically showing that graphically. But again, the wording there was difficult anyway. All right, let's see. There's a couple things in this chapter 8 that I didn't get a chance to go over in class. So here's, a classic one. Changes in regulatory prices in the 1980s. The pricing of trucking circus. Basically, trucking was very regulated in this country from after World War II up into the 1980s, where only certain firms had a federal license, basically a permit to transport goods between states. So changing the regulatory process, there are more firms brought in, so it lowers the price of the trucking service. It lowered it dramatically. This is one of the starts of deregulation that the Reagan administration is known for from the 1980s. So again, the price of trucking and services and the profits, what happened? The profits decreased in this one. So let me do my final check. Yeah, I got it right. Let's see. Yeah. Some of these are directly from the textbook. Again, it always pays to print these things out and go. Here again, watch this one for the test. Try to understand this, and because you're going to have to write this answer out. In a perfectly competitive firm has what kind of demand curve? Of course, that's horizontal. So it's got to be one of these two things, this answer. Where a monopolistic competition firm has, it's a downward sloping demand curve, right? Because they can choose their prices. So let me check my answer. I feel so good when I do this. Let's see, there's one other one I want to do. Yeah, this celebrity stuff. Oh, this one here. The book goes on and on about this pricing stuff. And this is game theory. And you can take a whole college course on game theory where you have two competing firms where they basically compete with price against each other. And Pepsi and Coke do this. A lot of different oligopolies and monopolistic competitive firms do. But generally, and I don't want to get into it because it will drive you crazy sometimes. When they compete, they're both going to pick the low price. Again, they get a choice of the higher price, lower price to compete with one another. In game theory, and you can read the textbook if you want, it can be interesting. They both going to do a low price. If Jill picks a low price, the best response of Jack is to pick a low price. Oh, I got that right. Don't miss that one. There's one more here. Yeah. Natural monopoly. Again, understand what a natural monopoly is. It's fairly straightforward. Something like a water is a natural monopoly. The water brought to your house. There's only one company can get water through the pipes. Why is that? Why is it natural? Yeah. Staples. This is again directly from the textbook. Here, normal profits, right? Again, here we got what? Monopolistic competitive firm, right? Where I got demand. And I got my marginal revenue and marginal cost going up. Use the three-point curve to draw the average cost curve. Again, kind of ignore marginal cost. Well, in a sense, it's giving us the point here, right? Marginal revenue, marginal cost meet. I go up here. Here is going to be the price sold. So if I want normal profits, my costs are basically equal to my revenue. And again, revenue here is whatever this price is. We can't tell, but we can see the quantity sold is 3. So I know, I'm hitting again, this is my tool, my line tool. It's going to start up here, and it's going to hit directly. I'm going to click again here. I love this feature, don't you? And then go this way, and theoretically the marginal cost should come across average cost at its minimum point, always does. I'm clicking there, and I'm going to label this average cost. So here my costs are intersect right where my selling price is. So making normal economic profits. Check my answer. Ah, nice work. All right. So for the midterm here, and again, I'll have this review section on Monday. I may record another lecture if I think of as I do the test. Create the test, and something I haven't gone over is going to be on the test. I'll make sure I'll do a video of it. But for this chapter 8 stuff here, and for the whole midterm. Again, take a look at this slide, right? It's from chapter 6, where it explains the characteristics of a perfectly competitive firm, and monopolistic competitive firms, oligopolies, and monopolies, because you're going to have to draw some graphs of these different market structures and then explain them. So it pays to understand the characteristics of these. Let's see. So again, monopolistic competitive firm. Again, this is what we just drew in the homework. Here it is here. So it's going to be on the test. You're going to, again, this is in normal profit. This is a long run case in capitalism where people are making normal profits. Yeah. This is 8.3 if you look at this monopolistic competition. As opposed to perfect competition, where again the marginal revenue here is a straight line going across because it's set by the firm. I guess it's set by the industry, the price. And again, take a look at that from, I believe it's chapter 6, the marginal, perfectly competitive market structure and how it works. But again, the average cost bisects right where the price is. So again, there's normal profits. Try to understand this one. And again, here's a monopolist, and why we want to have competition, because this one on the left is only one firm in the market, right? It's a monopoly. So again, where marginal revenue equals marginal cost, it goes up to the demand curve. Boom, there is the price, and can be sometimes, not always, very big profits. But if you put two firms, another firm comes into this industry, it's going to shift demand to the left, and basically, because people have other choices to go to, not everyone's going to be buying from the one firm again. So basically, the price will come down and profits come down for this individual, these firms. So take a look at this, try to understand it. And again, make sure you understand what a monopolistic competitive firm is, because it uses the two terms, monopolistic because they can try to differentiate their product and get a slight monopoly of it, but they're still in competition. And again, it's like a scarf company, right? You want to have your beautiful scarf where you use advertising, you get celebrity endorsements, as the book talks about, or you try to get a narrowly defined monopoly for your scarves using these different techniques. But again, they're very similar to substitutes with other firms, therefore you are still in competition with other firms. So monopolistic competition, how the term comes about. And again, same sort of thing. Well, again, with a duopoly. Am I going to ask a question on duopoly? No, it's kind of like a monopoly here. Or again, if you have more firms in a market, it will lower the price for these things. That's why we have all these antitrust laws. And again, here's this price fixing with the game tree. Again, the one question I'm going to ask on the test, if I do ask it, is basically go low, low. It's if they have basically they have a choice of competing with someone, a competitor, and try to do a high or low price. They have a choice of high or low price. Generally, in game theory, everyone goes for the low price, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. This is an interesting one. This is one you should look at. Natural monopoly. Why we control these natural monopolies. It kind of goes back to that question 7 from the quiz and the homework. Because here we have the long run marginal cost at the bottom here, right? And again, where marginal revenue equals marginal cost, this is what they should charge for the price to make their profit maximization, right? This point B, which is a high price. And if they have a natural monopoly, again, the classic one is water. We have one, nobody's going to run two competing water pipes down the street, right? You're going to have one water company. So what government does, it regulates it, or a lot of times government owns the water company. Local community own the water companies. They basically just want to match their costs, right? And pay for it. So instead of going for profit maximization here, which would cut the quantity supplied, um, they sell at this where they just cover their cost, point C, out here. And again, more basically consumed at a lower price. So this is what, again, the government does with Con Edison, right? They don't let Con Edison go to the market price. They force them through regulation because they have this license permit to have a monopoly in New York City to produce at a lower price, and then more people will buy it. So take a look at this, because I'm going to ask you about these natural monopolies, because it's a common occurrence, and why government has to get involved in the economy, and why it's not an all a laissez-faire economy where private businesses run everything. There's a reason for government control in certain places. So, any questions? I think I'm done with that. Give me a shout. Again, I'll have send out the review session link to the Adobe Connect. Probably by Sunday. We'll do that Monday, and I'll record it and send you a link to where you can take a look at the copy. All right, let me turn this thing on.